I'm pretty sure in the book community we have all heard time and time and time again, never judge a book by its cover because you never know when you might find a new favorite. Happy Wednesday, my friends! I am so very excited that you are here. It is another Top 5 Wednesday video, and I'm very interested and excited in this prompt because I had to think very, very hard. But in case if you're not familiar with Top 5 Wednesday, in a nutshell, basically each week, a host puts together a series of prompts, and then on that Wednesday, we answer a prompt using 5 books, but in this case, I do manga to reflect that said prompt. And as I shared sort of in the beginning, today's prompt is never judge a book by its cover. We've all seen covers that we're like, we're just gonna avoid that because we feel maybe to us personally that it's a little bit cringeworthy, or maybe it's just not pretty, or it's not engaging. But then we like read the blurb, say online or at the store, and we're like, okay, the cover doesn't sell me, but this blurb really has me interested. And we pick it up, and lo and behold, it, like I said, might become a new favorite. Or maybe not a new favorite, but a book that we really, really enjoy. So today we're answering the question, what are some books you've picked up where you didn't love the cover, but you enjoyed the story? I really struggled with this prompt because I feel like typically manga covers are really pretty, and I was like trying to think of like, usually I feel like if I don't like the cover, I won't pick up the book, which is so horrible. And like this prompt is, you know, basically saying, hey, don't judge a book by its cover. But I guess when I was thinking about it, I guess maybe deep down I actually judge covers a lot more than I expected. So I'm pretty happy with the books that I've chosen. Some of them I had to twist just slightly, and I will say why that I chose them and why I am. But I am going to go for number 1. I'm going to say Asadora. I no longer have this manga. Very unfortunately, I had a procedure last year, and so I had to sell quite a bit of my manga. So when you see my upcoming manga collection video, and you're like, where's that series? Yeah, I had to sell quite a few so that I could go pay for that procedure because I don't have insurance. Anyway, we're here talking about Asadora. So I picked up Asadora with a friend a long time ago, and I was really iffy because, I mean, the cover doesn't look bad, but the cover is not a shoujo manga cover, you know what I mean? Usually shoujo manga covers are really pretty. This is not like a shoujo manga whatsoever, but I was really caught off guard by how much I loved this story. I think it's like a science fiction mystery kind of genre, I think, and is a seinen demographic. I'm not 100% sure, but I love the main girl, Asa, who's on the cover. I feel like this cover maybe doesn't truly reflect all of the amazing elements of the story, not like in a bad way, but I was surprised how there's like a giant kaiju in the beginning of Asadora, and there's a giant typhoon, and there's this mystery element that weaves in that has you wanting to learn more. And then it has like, I don't know, I'd say post-war vibes. I don't know what war, but there is some war vibes, and you meet this guy who's nicknamed Hero of the Skies, and it just completely blew me away in how engaging it was. I actually wrote a review for this volume in the Clean Fiction magazine that I write for. I was like, not everybody, but I was like, people need to know about Asadora right there. I made the little shiny little graphic, and I love how I have the plane holding, it's supposed to be the bag of, I think it's the bag of rice and water. And oh, I love it. But the story was very interesting to me because while I went in very optimistic because there was a lot of strong recommendations where they're like, don't worry about the cover. I mean, I know people who like it, and I do like the cover, but I just felt like when I first started, it didn't, I don't know, it wasn't vibing with me the same. But then when I got reading, I mean, I was completely hooked into Asa's story, who is the main character, and just her drive and her willingness to help the people around her, because interestingly enough, nobody remembers who she is. Nobody remembers her name. And it's really sad because it's like, Asa's a really cool girl. Like, but she comes from a family where there's, I can't remember how many siblings she has, but she has a bunch of siblings. In the middle of this typhoon, her mom is having a baby. She's got to go get the doctor, and the doctor doesn't remember who she is. And somewhere in there, this typhoon hits, but she gets kidnapped, and she, yeah, thinks there's things that happen, and then you see the aftermath of the typhoon, and it just really, it was so compelling. It was so compelling, not just because the story itself was very compelling, but I was surprised how much it stirred me to want to just take action. How I wanted to take action, I don't even know. And I actually said that in my review in the Clean Fiction magazine. It's just that action of wanting to help other people and to just be there really stirred my heart. This is a series, like, so that I regret selling, even though I know I had to, but I did see my library has, I think, up to volume 6, and I'm just like, I will have to read it at some point because it was very, very surprising, and it was definitely the first one that came to mind of, don't judge a book by its cover because you never know how much you're gonna love that series, that volume, and Asadora fits that so very perfectly. For number 2, I think people are gonna be really surprised by this one, and that is Haikyuu. This is not a bad cover by any means, but I will personally say that I struggle a lot, and I'm gonna use Haikyuu as an example, that's why I'm choosing it for this prompt, is I watched the anime first. I saw the anime once through, and then I started picking up the volumes, I tried reading it, and I was like, they look so young compared to the anime, and that is a really big struggle with me. The same is true for Kuroko's Basketball. They look so much older in the anime, and then when you read the manga, you're like, these are some young folks. These are some young men here, and it's not a bad thing whatsoever, but it really kept me from actually reading Haikyuu and picking it up and like devouring the whole series. Like, I think after I watched the anime, I did read volume 3 because I really love a scene that happens specifically in that volume. And then later on, much later, I went and read, I think it was volume 42. I read that like twice before I didn't even read the whole manga, and I was already like skipping around. Anyway, but like, here's a good example. Like, look how young Kageyama looks. Granted, I know that at the beginning they are younger, but he just looks so much younger than he does in the anime. So I chose this for myself in that I know that I basically was judging how they were drawn and how young they looked to actually pick up this story, which is so sad. You guys know it's one of my favorite all-time anime manga, and I'm just like, Laura. But look at where I am now. I'm totally obsessed with the series. I'm already planning to reread it again because I really miss these characters. I love them so incredibly much, and I know that I don't know, but I feel maybe other people can relate to this, especially when you read this first volume. It is pretty word heavy. It definitely gets like, there's action, yes, but I don't know, it just felt pretty word heavy in comparison to the anime. So I would say give this one a chance. Don't judge the art like how I did. It's not bad. It's not, like I said, it was a mind thing of my first introduction to the characters. They were looking older, and then suddenly they're like super young, and I'm like, what is going on here? They're not the same. So I don't know. I don't know what my advice would be to my like early self or to other people, but this is one that I just felt was very fitting for me, and that I did judge the art style and how it's like, it's different than the anime. Again, it's not in a bad way, but it really had me hung up for a really long time. But I'm glad that I overcame it and was able to read this amazing series. It's so very good. For number 3, I'm really excited to talk about this one. In fact, this is the first manga I ever ordered from Right Stuff Anime. I don't even remember when it was, but I'm going to say My Father is a Unicorn. Now, I remember very like distinctly of when my friends were like, Laura, look at this manga. This is your kind of manga because it has unicorns, because I was obsessed with unicorns at that time. I still love unicorns. I prefer them over dragons personally. But I was like, why there was a lot of like, this sounds like a joke. This is probably horrible. I was like, dude, My Father's a Unicorn. We have to try it out. And so it has an interesting cover so very much, but the story is so very heartwarming. I've read it 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, I've never done a video review of this on my channel, but it's a standalone, and like I said, surprisingly has a lot of heart and a great father-son relationship. I love the shenanigans that take place in this story. It's one that I feel really is unexpected, because when you see it, you're like, it's not a bad cover, but you're just like, he's a unicorn supposed to be his dad? Like, what? But it was so very good, and it's like one of the manga that I like. I mean, not that I ever regret buying my manga, I feel like, well, at least very, very rare, but I would say this is one that I definitely did not regret buying, despite that it's like, I know nothing about this. All I hear is people making fun of it and cracking jokes. I'm like, I'm gonna try it, and it was totally worth it. So I think if you're looking for something that's sort of like out of the box, very much out of the box, the My Father's a Unicorn is such a good one to pick up. It's such a fun, again, heartwarming story. I love the main character, and I just love the dad. I love things that he does to try and make his son happy, how he looks out for him in his own unique unicorn kind of way. But this is another one that's like, don't judge the book, man. Don't judge the cover or the title, because it is such a fantastic story. And I've been really, really happy to see when other people have mentioned that they've read it, they're all like, this is such a good story. It's such a fun and lighthearted story. I'm like, yes, yes. So this is one I would recommend. Maybe later this year, I will actually do a video review on it, because I'm like, people need to know that it's not, yes, it's outlandish in the sense, but at the same time, it's not. It's hard to explain, but it's definitely worth picking up and worth trying. For number 4, this manga technically has not released yet, and that is Villains Are Destined to Die. It comes out this October, this upcoming October, if the release date doesn't change, and I'm very, very excited about this one. Now, when you see the cover, I mean, I feel like it's just sparkly, it's just shiny, it's very, very pretty, and you guys know that I love the villainous isekai genre. That is my jam. I don't care how similar they all sound, I'm like, I just want more of it. I just feel like I can't get enough of this trope whatsoever, and so I'm always looking for and interested in more of these kind of genres that are releasing, or books that manga titles that are releasing. But here's the thing, when I saw this one, I'm like, that's a really pretty cover, but I'm like, it seems sort of depressing. I was like, it looks like she's laying in a coffin, or at least on her deathbed, with a bunch of flowers around her. And I'm like, I just don't know about this. I'm like, I am typically used to the happy-go-lucky kind of, I feel like, manga titles, or maybe not manga titles, but like, I think of like, here's a good one. This is what I'm thinking of right now. I'm a villainess, so I'm taming the final boss. I mean, this doesn't look depressing, even though we know, well, we don't know, but I should say, but when you read the blurb sheet or read the first chapter, all of her paths end in death. And this is the same thing that happens in Villains Are Destined to Die, but this is a much happier cover. Like, I don't know, it doesn't seem as dark or depressing, but here's the thing. I wasn't going to get Villains Are Destined to Die. I have it on pre-order. I wasn't going to get it, but then like one random day I saw it and I was like, you know what? I heard this is a webtoon. Let's go see if we can read like the first chapter or something. Oh my goodness. It was so very good. It was so different than what I expected. It does have some minor language, and I am curious to see how that's going to like translate over in the manga, because it's 13 and up. But I'm like, some of the language is a little bit stronger for what I feel would be like 13 and up. Anyway, that's a like side ramble, but I'm very, very curious, because dude, I will leave the link down below. Go check it out. I mean, I'm not hugely familiar with webcomics, I will confess that, but it looks like so much like a video game. I can't even get the words out, but it looks just like a video game. It is so incredibly cool. I love the main character. And the thing that I love most, that has me most curious and interested in this, and is different than I feel like other villainous isekai, is because she can only talk if she has a choice available to her. If she can only talk if she has a choice available to her. That is the coolest thing. I'm like, it feels just like a video game. Now, I have been told that that doesn't continue throughout the series, but the one thing I did hear that does continue is that she can see the percentage above these men that she has a chance to potentially form a relationship with. And that continues on, that aspect continues on for the rest of the series. And so I am so curious, because I've never seen a villainous isekai like that. So I felt like this was another great one for this prompt, because I definitely judged the cover and was like, that looks a little bit darker than my cup of tea. But when I read it, yes, it does have some, not dark elements, I feel like it does have some sadness. I'm very excited to see how this story is going to unfold. It was a surprise when because you can read the prologue and the first 2 chapters for free on Tapas, I believe it is. Again, that link's down below. I know I keep saying that, but it's just so shiny, and it very much surprised me, and I think I'm really going to enjoy the story. I like how the main character can relate to the villainess. Like, I think that's going to have some really, really good stuff. So this was, again, another one that surprised me. I'm like, Laura, you shouldn't have judged it. You should have just checked it out on Tapas, see what you thought. I forgot where I was going because my water just spilled. So yes, I'm just going to say Villains Are Destined to Die, another great one. I cannot wait to read it. I hope that the release date does not get pushed back next month, because I'm very desperate to try it out and see what this manga is all about, because it definitely proved me wrong. That the cover is gorgeous, yes, but I think maybe it will be a little bit darker, but not in the way I originally expected. For number 5, this manga I read a long time ago when I was looking at Goodreads because I was struggling, guys. I was struggling. I read it. It didn't come out. Well, maybe it did, but I read it back in 2019, and that is An Incurable Case of Love, Volume 1. Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever actually talked about this manga on my channel, and part of that is, well, first, let me talk about it first. So I was originally interested in this manga because I liked the idea that it matched Library Wars in the sense of the main girl decides to go into her major or her career because of her Prince Charming from a long time ago where she was significantly impacted by an incident that was made, and she decides she's going to go in there to that major, to that career, so that she can go find her Prince Charming and tell them thank you because of how they touched her life. And it doesn't quite unfold that way. Yes, it does. But the reason I chose this one this is a little bit different of don't judge a book by its cover, because I feel like when you see the cover, it does seem very lighthearted and like it's going to be a fun read. And don't get me wrong, that first volume was a fun read. But where I was very surprised is since she becomes a nurse, I didn't expect for there to be some pretty, I don't know what the right word is. Let's say dark things, but that's not true. But I guess some things that nurses probably actually really go through, not actually, but that they really do go through. For example, as a minor trigger warning, if you do pick it up, there is an attempted suicide. I believe that there is a patient that dies. There's where the main character has a brief moment, but there's some minor non-graphic sexual harassment that happens, and I did not expect any of those things to be captured her as a nurse. Like, I thought this was just going to be a purely romantic, happy kind of romance story where she's trying to woo the doctor now or trying to thank him because he's really, really grumpy and definitely not friendly whatsoever. So I thought I was going to focus on that, and I was surprised that when you're seeing the main character in her everyday life as a nurse, that you see those struggles that nurses go through. So it was not the, like I said, happy-go-lucky kind of cover that I expected. It's very upbeat. Maybe it's not happy-go-lucky, but it's just a bright, really nice cover that seems like a very fun story. So I was surprised when I saw that, and I was like, I still remember the things that main character went through as a nurse, and just how it was not like this upbeat story like I quite expected. It's still very fun, and I will confess I have not actually finished reading the series because that is a josei title published under Shoujo Beat, and I heard that it is a little bit spicy, and so I was like, I don't know how spicy it is, and since I typically do not read spicy titles, I've never finished the series to see how it unfolded, but I was interested in knowing what happens next. Even though I felt like I said, there were some minor triggers that happened within this story, the romance aspect and the shenanigans were so great, like between the main character and the guy that she loves. Like, it was very, very good. So I hope that makes sense what I'm trying to say. I guess I was just surprised with how happy it looks, how it did have some more serious topics that were actually addressed in the story. And for my honorable mention, because I can't believe I almost forgot to mention this, I am gonna say Beastmaster. Oh my goodness. So I remember seeing this cover of this series, it's 2 volumes, and thinking, man, like, this looks like it's pretty steamy. We're gonna have some, like, maybe forbidden kind of romance, or what I consider, like, gonna be sort of dangerous. And I was so surprised. This manga is so cute and so wholesome. It is so adorable. I have a video review up if you want to see it. Leo is a precious little being. This series, like, it does not match these covers. In fact, I feel like for this one, this more accurately reflects them as a couple than this. I just don't know. I just don't know. I don't know why it looks so edgy and looks very daring and dangerous. And I'm like, this is not like this exotic romance. It's so sweet. And I was so hesitant to pick it up, but my good friend recommended it to me, and I was like, okay, we're gonna try it. I trust her recommendations. And yes, like, I was like, oh my goodness, like, there's nothing dirty in this. There's just wholesomeness and sweetness. And so this is one that had to be mentioned because I would have never picked this up if I hadn't gotten that personal recommendation from her, because I trust her, because I just was like, I just don't know. Like, the reviews say it's really cute, but I'm like, wonder if they're just deceiving me. Yeah, because I don't know why would have, like, over 50 reviews say that. But it is a very good story, very, like I said, very wholesome and so precious. I've read this twice because it's just so lighthearted and fluffy, and it has animals and just a very good story. I love the development of the romance and just the happy things and funny things that happen. Like, this series, don't be deceived by these covers. Don't be deceived by these covers. It is so good. I don't know if it's still in print or not, or like in stock, I should say. But if you can find it, I definitely recommend it. It's by the same manga that is Queen's Quality, which I've wanted to check out Queen's Quality for a while now because I keep seeing good things about it, and the storytelling in this was fantastic. But yeah, don't judge a book by its cover because it may look like it's steamy, but it's not. It's not. And that, my friends, wraps up my picks for Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover. I would love to hear from you, friends. What are some titles, covers that you've seen where you're like, I don't know, for whatever reason, and then you're like, well, I'm gonna pick it up for whatever reason, and you really enjoyed. I would love to hear from you, friends. And are any of these books that I mentioned today, have you had the same thing happen? Can you relate to my picks? I would love to hear from you, friends. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!